After playing Jedi Survivor at the early preview event in LA, it has become very clear to me that the new combat is on a whole nother level. During our playtime, we got hands on with 3 lightsaber stances, single blade, double blade, and dual wield, but we also got to see the crossguard and the blaster as well, and let me tell you, I was very impressed. Now, I will talk about the crossguard and the blaster stances a little later in the video and give you guys a rundown of what you can expect from them, but for now, we're going to talk about the other 3. Hey guys, it's Twisted here. I just want to say a really quick thank you to everyone who's been subscribing lately and turning on the notifications in the last few days. It really has shown an increase to those that are getting alerted to my videos when I post them. So if you are new and you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do so because I am posting daily Jedi Survivor videos going forward. And if you want to turn on the notifications as well, that would be amazing. Anyways, getting into the combat, let's start with the single blade. While similar to how it felt in Fallen Order, was more refined in its movements. Jedi Survivor has taken some of the movements and abilities we learned in Jedi Fallen Order and developed them into even more powerful abilities in the sequel. Now, personally, I didn't spend a huge time using the single-bladed lightsaber at the event because I wanted to focus on dual wield and double saber because they're the biggest changes that we've seen, but some of the new animations for this stance are really cool and I'm interested to see what combos we can come up with once we unlock some more of the skill tree for the single-bladed lightsaber. The biggest difference I noticed in the combat for Jedi Survivor was with the double blade. With all the new skills and animations, Cal really feels like he knows how to wield this double-bladed lightsaber to its full potential now. Spinning, cutting through multiple enemies at a time, he has mastered the double-bladed lightsaber in this game, and this is where I actually focused a lot of my skill points while I was playing it, to be honest. Some of the skills you can get early on with the double-bladed saber are really strong, and especially when you're battling groups of enemies, you can make such short work of them. Now, I don't know the name of the exact abilities, but there was one particular combo that I was able to do that had my jaw nearly on the floor. And then afterwards, I was scrambling to figure out how I did it so that I could do it again. Without spoiling too much, we came up against a relatively hard enemy during the story portion we played, and using the abilities I had unlocked, I was able to completely dismantle him with this combo and not even take a single hit or need to block any sort of retaliation from him. The combo, if I could describe it, it began with one of Cal's newest abilities where he pretty much slides on his knees into a spinning lightsaber attack. It's really cool to see, and it followed that with an ability that kind of reminded me of Darth Maul's spin from Battlefront 2 into a flurry of basic strikes and then into the boomerang style lightsaber throw, which I had upgraded to allow me to do it twice in a row with this combo. I pretty much ran through this fight without breaking a sweat, and it was supposed to be in the story kind of like a mini boss fight in a sense. So the double-bladed lightsaber does feel so much stronger than the first game, especially once you begin to level up the skill tree. And I even used the double-bladed lightsaber to take down the Rancor fight, so it just shows how much it's developed since Fallen Order. It really is fun to use, and there's so much different about it from the previous game. I can't wait for you guys to see all of it. Next though, let's talk about the dual wield sabers. The experience of getting to use this stance for the first time is unmatched. Seeing the way Cal moves and takes on enemies with 2 sabers is super impressive, and I really can't wait for you guys to get your hands on and try this. However, in saying that, this stance does feel a little more strategic. You don't have as much range as the first 2 combat stances, so you have to be able to get in real close to your enemies and time your dodges really well. As far as the skills go from the skill tree, I didn't unlock too much of it because I did spend most of my points on the double-bladed saber, but there were a few cool abilities early on, like the focused parry, where Cal would float his lightsabers in front of him with the force, and as long as you were holding down the button to keep this ability active, it would parry for you, and then when you released it, it would do a spinning attack to take out the enemy. It was really cool to see and something that I didn't expect, and it's an ability that you can just see the creativity of the developers coming out with different things from Star Wars that we haven't seen before. Another ability worth noting was backstep slash, and we do actually see this in the B-roll, and so as you attack an enemy, you follow up by leaping backwards as kind of a quick in and out attack to avoid taking damage. And then there was one other ability called Uncoiled Strikes, which was basically a flurry of quick targeted swings at the enemy. If you delayed your second X or square input on the controller, it would just do multiple strikes following that. But there's the first 3 out of the way. Let's get to what you guys really want, and that's the crossguard and the blaster stances. Starting with crossguard, obviously we didn't get hands-on with either of these stances, but we did get a gameplay demonstration from one of the developers, and trust me, they both look amazing. Crossguard gave off a little slower but really heavy and powerful strikes compared to the other stances, but also looked like its defense was really strong too. When swinging the Crossguard saber, it really did look like a broadsword was being used, and it added for a cool change of pace. In saying that, it's not all slow combat, the power does shine through as well, as we see Cal using the stance in the trailers to do things like break Droideca's bubble shields and take on Ravis, who is gigantic. So one of my favorite things about the Crossguard stance is actually one of the abilities you can unlock, and we do see it in the trailer where Cal essentially sprints at an enemy, jumps up and does like this double fly kick to whoever's in front of him. So it's a bit extra, but I love it and I think it's great. This is really all I have on the Crossguard right now, but once I do have more information or gameplay, I will update you guys on the channel. And finally, the one you probably guys all clicked on this video to hear about is the Blaster Stance. Now, Blaster Stance, although there's no official gameplay out there, is another thing we got to see at the preview event, and boy, is it impressive. With what we saw in the gameplay, even just the basic attacks were cool. Being able to use a blaster and saber together with the Force, it really felt wrong, but like so right at the same time. The most impressive part of the blaster gameplay was one of the combos that the dev was able to perform, where Cal uses the Force to lift up like 5 or 6 stormtroopers at the same time, freeze them floating in midair so they were completely helpless, and then proceeded to use the blaster with a Lando-like sharp shot ability from Battlefront 2 that took out all of the troopers that were floating in the air at once. And it was really nothing short of incredible, and the entire crowd cheered when we saw it. So it just goes to show how much potential there is with the blaster gameplay, and I can't wait to see the rest of the abilities on that skill tree. Again, as mentioned, when I do get my hands on Jedi Survivor, I will obviously talk about all of these stances and their skill trees and abilities in more depth, but for now, we're just going to have to wait a little bit longer. With 11 days left until release, I really can't wait to see what the full game has in store for us. If you guys made it to the end of the video, please comment Jedi down below, just so I can see who got this far, and if you haven't already, make sure to leave a like on the video for me to help support the channel. Anyways, with that said, I am going to get out of here. Thank you so much for clicking on another one, and may the Force be with you always.